make sure you be able to collect the data and you start preparing the format that is necessary. Then you will decide, of course, in the beginning, maybe you choose some either a model or even several models to actually be building your solution on. And then you start to build, right? And then this is where there's actually a lot of techniques on how you actually want to build it. Like even prompting techniques, the usual zero shot, few shot, chain of thought. If you are again going to supplement your own knowledge to give the LM a context, then you explore all the different RAG techniques. Whether you actually want to build it as an agentic system, there's a whole range of agent frameworks there also for you to explore on. Now, after you build it, that's when you start to evaluate. And this is actually really important because you will most likely you'll never get it right the first time. So you will always need to refine your solution over and over again. And how to actually, decide whether you're actually improving on your solution is this evaluation phase. So I would advise coming up with some kind of a benchmarks earlier on to actually, how you actually want to evaluate the performance of your application so that you can run the metrics right at each time you refine to see whether you're actually improving or not. And this refinement, there's many different ways of actually refining and improving on your system. The most cheapest, fastest way is to refine your prompts, right? Because you probably won't get your prompts correct the first time, so you need to rapidly reiterate on the prompts that you're using in your system, and then you see whether you're actually improving the performance of your application. Now, based on some, when you see your evaluations also, maybe there's an indication then the data that you collected is not enough and you need to supplement it with more data, then that's where you actually go back and actually kind of beef up the data that you have that you're going to feed it as a context to your AI solution. Now, the last one, I do not recommend it, or rather I would refrain from doing it during this hackathon, is actually then, actually fine tuning the model to give it that extra boost in performance, or, maybe you want it to respond in a very specific way. You can, of course, do it. I'm not saying you can't, but probably in the timeline of the hackathon, maybe not advisable. Yeah, but this is roughly the overall product life cycle that you will go through in iteration during your hackathon period. Now, if this is actually in a production system, you actually, once you've gotten to a kind of a acceptable state or a performance state, you then deploy it in production. And then even in production, you have to constantly monitor and evaluate the performances performance of the system, and then do the whole refinement if you see that there's kind of a drift in the metrics that you're getting from your evaluation systems. So iteration is really, really key. And you probably have to do it like multiple times in order just to get the performance that you actually want. Now, you might ask, like, is there any specific secret sauce to actually develop on Sea Lion? There's really not. I would say, developing on Sea Lion is like the same as developing with any other model out there. But I'll just go through maybe some of the areas that you might be concerned with. So first is inferencing. So I think some of you have already explored with our Sea Lion API that we have an API available, but I think a lot of you have already known that it's limited to 10 RPM. So what we advise is that the participants are supposed to host their own Sea Lion model on AWS and GCP, and the guides are actually available on our documentation site here. So you see that we have several guides showing how to actually create a host and create a Sea Lion endpoints on Google Vertex AI, as well as on AWS. If you actually familiar with VLM, we've also have a simple guide here on how to deploy Lion using VLM on a Linux server, right? Yeah. So if you need kind of, maybe it's taking some time to actually learn how to host your own Lion model on AWS or GCP. You can, in the meantime, also test out all our models are available on Ollama for rapid local development. Now, prompting, we don't really have any secret sauce for prompting. Usual best practices apply. But if you like to kind of easily do prompt testing between our different models and see what their responses are like, right? I will recommend maybe you can use our playground here in Sandbox. Yeah, so over here, you can actually be able to compare up to 4 different models. And then you choose like perhaps some of the models that you kind of want to see, compare the responses on. You can edit the system prompt over here, but just make sure to actually save it when you edit the prompt. And then you just send the prompt, the query, and you can actually see, compare the difference between all the different models. Yeah. Now, RAG, again, usual RAG practices like how you actually, the factors like chunk size, the different kind of RAG techniques and all that, same usual practices apply. You might be wondering like which embedding model to use. We are actually in the midst of training our own or coming out with our own embedding model, but unfortunately that's not ready yet. So far internally, in all our internal use cases and prototypes, right, we have been using the BGE M3 model with quite good performances. Yeah. And I think for RAG, maybe the more interesting area is like, especially since Lion caters to multiple C languages, right? Is like how do you actually handle multi-language, right? So for example, what if my user's query is in a different language than my knowledge base documents? So sending the RAG query as it is in a different language, right, will actually result in poor retrieval of the relevant chunks. So what we have done internally for our use cases is actually we convert the query or we extract the keywords from the query to the language of your knowledge base documents before retrieval. So we use Lion to do that, to do the translation or extracting the keywords, right, and asking it like, hey, these are the keywords, but what is it in the language of your knowledge base documents? Then once this keywords are converted or extracted, we use that to retrieve the chunks, and then we add the chunks as a context to the system prompt, right? But when we send over to the LM, we actually use the original user query to the LM, but we specify that the response is be generated in the same language as the user query. Now, this is so that the model responds naturally to the question instead of responding to just a bunch of keywords. So the diagram here maybe is easier to understand. Using the original query, you convert it and then retrieve the chunks from the knowledge base, and then we feed it to the system prompt.
Coba cari deh si Lion
Use the
benchmark.
original query
Itu nggak
and send it over to the LM. Next, okay, for those who are exploring with voice, we still have not yet
Ada juga anjir
come
voice,
up with
bener kan?
model that is
Ini kita juga ada voice.
capable of speech. So at this point of time for the hackathon, if you're exploring with voice, we still recommend the pipeline approach. That would be to send the audio to ASR model, which produces the transcribed speech, right, which you then send over to the LLM, and then you have can send back the text response to the user. if it's or you can actually feed it through a text-to-speech model, go back to the user. As for what ASM model we recommend, I think so far we've been also using OpenWhisper to pretty decent results. So maybe that's the model we would recommend that you can try. For agents, again, we have guides available on our
Ada guide-nya
documentation
anjir,
site.
agent gak usah pusing-pusing.
So we have using
Gitu.
AWS Strengths agents or the Google Agent Development Kit. I think so it's pretty self-explanatory in the documentation side, but maybe I think for agents, I
Sebenarnya
think you have to
katanya
kind of
dipermudah,
think
Cok.
about
Ini yang pusing anjir.
whether you're using
Gak ada ini anjir,
the
library-nya
C-line
buat agent.
model to come up with a tool
Gak ada
agent or a tool
library-nya
calling
buat
agent.
agent.
So there
Tinggal
might be a little bit
dipakai.
of a difference in performance between our different models, right? So if you're thinking of using it as a tool calling agent, then maybe our version 3 and I think version 4 would be a good model to do that. But if you're positioning the C-line model as a tool agent, then any of the models will be suitable for that task. Yeah. So okay, so I think that is kind of the really short, brief run through on some practical suggestions and tips on how to develop on Sea Lion. So maybe we have 15 minutes left. Maybe we can just go over to the Q&A session to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Esther.
Dia rame.
I can already see a few Q&A, a few questions from the Q&A. And if you have any other questions, feel free
Kamu
to
ya,
just add it there. Maybe we just go through quickly,
Berapa?
Esther, and then try to answer. So I think what's the news with Sea Lion V4? I think we just released it on Monday, so it's available right now. So I think I already given the description. So it's based on Gemma 3, and
bisa
you
ke
will go
download
to
kan,
the
tapi dia
coding
nahan
phase
karena
model card to find out a little bit more. If you have any specific
jalan juga
questions,
di
feel free
komputer
to
lu ya.
raise it here. Which Sea Lion model can we use for embedding tasks? Yeah, I think Esther just described. At the moment, the Sea Lion is not meant for the embedding tasks. And then, we have that. What's the name of the model, Esther, for embedding that we usually use?
BGE-M3. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one that we've been using. We are building an embedding model, but I think it may only be ready sometime in late October, so maybe a little bit too late for this. But keep an eye. Sometimes maybe there will always be some. I know that there are some parallel effort going on somewhere where they are building embedding for some of Southeast
Bedinya
Asian
pakai ini
languages.
Cok.
If we find any new ones, we can send it to you as well. I think you can also scan yourself, but we'll help you there. Very interested in multimodal feature of Sea Lion V4. However, in the sandbox, there seems no place to upload an image. Can you let us know how to the best way to use this multimodal ability? Esther, do you want to take this one?
As you rightly pointed out, unfortunately, our sandbox doesn't have this capability yet. What I can suggest is that if you're familiar with Open Web UI, so our API is OpenAI compatible, right? So once you get the API key, you can actually hook it up with Open Web UI client, which is open source, right? You can hook it up with Open Web UI client, then connect it as an OpenAI compatible, with the endpoint. Then you can use the Open Web UI client to test out the multimodal features. Yeah.
Right. So I'm moving on to the next one. And by the way, if you have follow-up questions, feel free. Okay, just continue putting it. Or you can also raise your hands if you prefer to speak directly. So I'm still newbie at this data stuff. Is this like a model or data that we later can use? Oh, okay, Xiaomin, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm telling people that you're answering this question. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So I think sorry,
Bedinya
let
pakai
me read
ini.
again.
Ntar
Is
gua
this like a
upload dulu.
model or data that we later can use on the competition? So yeah, I think in a way, you don't have to use all these models. You don't have to use all the data, but we are telling you that such models, such data exists. You can visit on our Hugging Face. There are a couple of collections, from Sea Lion version 1 all the way to Sea Lion version 4. We have our CPAL data set that is basically curated data for Southeast Asia. All those things are available. You can use it even if you're not using the Sea Lion in your solution, right? So it's just made available. Or is this some kind of tutorial? I'm not quite sure. Do you understand what it means, Esther? Muhammad Davis, do you wanna explain to us? I think we have. I think all those links they provide some tutorials, yes, on how to kind of use the models as agents, use the models, how to build the inference endpoints with the model and so on. So those are the tutorials. But sorry, Mama Davis, if there's more things that still not clear, feel free to raise your hands. So were the reasoning models also fine-tuned on synthetic data? So I think a lot of the fine-tuning data, they are a combination of synthetic data and also human-generated data. For
Apa lu mau
reasoning,
nanya
I
apa,
think
Mas?
you're right. I think
Yang
it's
si
more
Lion.
heavily synthetic data. We're
Gua
doing
nanya yang
this in a
begini
very
tadi
similar
udah
way
kejawab.
as
Jawab ya
people
tadi.
do deep-seek distillation. The only thing that's a little
Kalau
bit
kalau
different is
gitu.
that for us, we
Oh, bedanya
we
kayak sama
actually
kita itu kali ya.
have some native
Pas
speakers to kind
di
of sample and basically make some correction and so on. So
bikin
there's a little bit of human element
si
into this. So
Lion
the
Hair.
synthetic data is not blindly taken from synthetic data. So we prompt it carefully, and also we do a little bit of checking. So hopefully that
Nah, ada
helps
gue
a
tanya.
little bit in the quality and more targeted for Southeast Asia as well. What's the recommended EC2 instance type size for Sea Lion? Since you have a good question, Esther, do you have any recommendation?
It's a good question. I think it would depend on the model that you're actually using. But that's definitely a good question. It might be something we need to take back to the team, right? And maybe come up
Yang
with a
maksudnya
table
dia agak pro lah dikit.
Yeah.
of the recommended instance types for each model for the participants' reference.
Yeah, but I do recommend to look at our quantized versions as well, just to save costs a little bit, because I mean, of course you still need to experiment whether they are performing based on our benchmark. They don't have performance degradation, so that will save a little bit of the the budget.
Nanti
I think
pun
Esther did mention about fine
minggu
tuning.
lagi kita pakai yang
That as much as possible, don't use it as your first weapon. You try other things, and then if you cannot find any solution, then maybe discuss with us, and then we can also share with you whether we think fine tuning, because that can be quite expensive, right? But on the other hand, actually the challenge with fine tuning is not just that it's expensive. The evaluation can be quite
orang-orang
tricky, right? So, but unless you are in the situation where you
banyak
have done it before, everything is kind of ready, you just adapt it,
ada
then
orang tertentu
by all
anjir
means,
yang bisa.
go ahead and do it, right? Suggest some embedding models that work well with, I think Esther already shared. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just sent the link to the embedding model that we use on Hugging Face. So you can find it on the other chat.
Prompting best practices for Sea Lion. What language should I write my prompts for the model, as it will need to respond in Viet? You can prompt it in both English and Vietnamese. Actually,
Jadi fokus kita ke ini
I speak Indonesian, so I
Thailand
feel like
sama
every time I
Indo.
prompt it in
Karena
Indonesian,
tiga
it
bahasa
usually
itu yang
gives
paling
me
banyak
better Indonesian.
data
But
set
again, you need to try on your
tiga
use
bahasa
case
itu
whether
paling
that's
banyak
true. I think,
di data set
my default will be, if you expect the
Thailand,
response to be in Viet,
Viet,
you should try to prompt it in
itu
Viet.
sama Inggris. Inggris.
Can we use Sea Lion for contextual search? Esther, do you have the answer?
Sorry, may I know perhaps what is the meaning of contextual search from your perspective?
Can I request somebody can explain to us what do you mean by contextual search? Okay, I will try my best to answer this, right? So I think if you combine it with the rack, then I think yes, it can be used as a contextual search. My understanding of contextual search is basically, a search that is, you prompt it in a way that captures certain local context, and then there's a query there, and then it's not just going to ignore it's not just going to focus on the query itself, but take into consideration all the context coming from the surrounding prompt, right? So I think the sea lion itself, if you combine it with RAG,
Pasti.
then yeah, I think
Kalau
it
nanti
will work
kita
as a
bakalan
contextual
otomatis
search. I saw Sea Lion V4 Super recently and was looking to see if I could deploy for checking. And
ya.
what languages is it compatible for? If for checking sentences and languages, yeah. So it's compatible with how many languages? I think pretty much all Southeast Asia national languages to VIA. So I think it knows Burmese, it knows Khmer.
Dan,
Um,
apa?
Lao is still a little bit challenging because the volume is still quite small, but you can try. I
R
think Viet
reasoning,
and
IT
the
instruct
Indonesian, Malay, they should be
tunes,
okay.
tunes,
Thai as well.
tunes.
We have gotten feedback from the mentors to fine-tune our model. Although I personally believe that prompting it better will solve the problem. Will this problem solving count as fine-tuning? Well, I mean, I don't think you need to fine-tune. No, I mean, okay, Esther, you have. Can you share your thoughts on this?
I would still think, first of all, to start refining the prompts first, and then it's based on your evaluation whether you are, how close you are to the final result that you want. So fine tuning is more of if you really want it to perhaps respond in a certain manner. Yeah, we've actually internally never have not needed to go down the really fine-tuning route much. But I think it really depends on your use case and what kind of a specific
Kontekstualnya
um,
bisa.
response you want from the model that you can't get it from just prompting. Yeah.
I think if say your domain is agriculture, right? I think what I will do is that I will try to do a rack. I mean, I would try to not do a rack first, right? I would try to sort of like natively prompt whether maybe the model has already understood a little bit of agriculture in your country, for example. Now, if it doesn't work, then I will use rack, especially if your information that you're dealing with are very dynamic, right? It changes every month kind of thing. You don't want to fine tune that because you don't want to embed it into the weights of the neural network, and then it's already outdated, right? So maybe treat it as a knowledge base that you kind of augment as your context. But then again, in some situations, if you are sure that this is going to be a knowledge that will stay permanently, making the model a little bit more tuned to the way, for example, farmers interact, then yeah, I think that it warrants some kind of fine tuning. Contextual search like search engine retrieval. Yes, I think that's my understanding as well for retrieval document. Yes. So I mean, if you still have, if I haven't addressed your question completely,
Ada.
feel free to raise a follow-up questions.
So Mas ada pertanyaan nggak Mas?
Can I get the data set that was being used
Can
for
I
Sila and
com
Gemma IT? I need to refine it for Sundanese. Yes, you can get it. I think
Kita nanya ini aja kali
the
ya. Can I
CPAL is
combine
actually
with
available.
another
You
LLM
can
model?
V2. That's the one that we use to train Sila and Gemma IT. But for the
Can
InstructTune one,
can we?
so that's for
I
pre-training
I
CPAL V2. Now
think
for
this
InstructTune,
is okay, but
this is something that
can
you
we
can
combine another?
send an email to the Sea Lion. I think I assume most of you know the Sea Lion email. Send it to me. I will be able to share it. I don't think we have shared everything. We will do a bit of a stage sharing because it can be quite big as well. So I think we can share some with you first. I think if we share it with you, I think we will share it with
I think
everybody
this
to be
is a
fair. Yeah.
OT,
But
but
do drop me an email for this one. I'm assuming that you are referring to the fine tuning data set. may you give me some tips on how to work with low resource language
Okay, I
like
think
Khmer?
this
I
is
mean,
about
the
equal
Sea
side.
Lion has
Can we
already
combine
been
another
trained a little bit more with Khmer. I think in terms of the model capability, probably still slightly lower in Khmer than some other data sets that a little bit larger, like for example Viet or Indonesian, but it should already kind of support somewhat, right? Now I think the in my mind there is this thing called the cross-lingual transfer as well, right? Sometimes you probably can uh, if you don't have enough Khmer data, maybe fine tune using some English or some neighboring language data to kind of top it up. You can probably do auto translation to Khmer first. The problem with auto translation is that sometimes it's not accurate, and then translated language is typically not very native, right? So I think to top up this, that's one way to do it. Maybe if you have some time, kind of correct you can do a little bit of local adaptation of the translation, but I think look at cross-lingual transfer. Sometimes some knowledge that is available in English not necessarily available in Khmer, because we already kind of train Sea Lion with Khmer. It can somehow take that English knowledge and then express it in Khmer.
Yes, you
To
can mix
try that.
them if needed.
Fine tuning goal here. I think when talking about models with different knowledge bases, we were told constantly to fine tune. However, I believe they meant is having better system prompts to make sure. However, how do I explain that this isn't fine tuning but refining model to do specific tasks? Um, Esther, do you want to take this one? And I actually need to go actually soon, so maybe we take this one as the last one, right?
Yeah. So I think when I to answer this question, when I showed that the product kind of a life cycle, right? Your evaluation portion kind of is really important. And to see how, but on what metrics are you actually evaluating your performance of your AI solution, and that I think to show maybe in the judging panel or what how you actually improve your metrics over time. If you can actually do it just via refining your prompts, then I think that it's okay. I mean, you don't even have to take a hammer to solve everything, right? So fine tuning is really at the last. Like you really, no matter how much you refine a prompt, or even if you throw in the data, you have tried all the other techniques, right? And then you start going into fine tuning. You probably have to explain. It'd be good to explain to the judging panel, like, in the end, you still need to go actually to the fine tuning route in order to get the performance that you want, because you have to then be able to curate the correct data set in order to fine tune as well. So there's also really additional work. So I think I would still say baseline, just see what is the performance of your AI solution first, having that kind of evaluation metrics and all that to be clear, to show you exactly what is going wrong with your AI solution. And then you actually find the correct refining technique to improve it. Yeah.
Thank you, Esther. And I think rest assured, right? I think you have more questions. Feel free to ask us via the email, and we are available to sort of like I'm happy to work with you. I'm going to involve the relevant people in the team as well. If you have some specific question related to how to do certain things with Sea Lion, we can even arrange a virtual session to kind of discuss or brainstorm together. So we are here to support you.
All right. Thank you, Esther and William, for your sharing today and for answering the questions that the participants had. So please feel free to drop off if you have another meeting. No worries on that. But maybe just for me to recap for the participants, as we mentioned, if you need any help at all, please reach out to us via Discord, which is our primary communication channel. But if you have more specific questions and would like to write us an email, you can send it to us at info@cdeveloperchallenge.ai. So these are for the challenge related questions. But as William mentioned, if you have Sea Lion related questions, you can send it to this email instead, which is caidevchallenge@aisingapore.sg. You can also find both of these emails on the website. So no worries on that. Yep. And then we just wanted to share that there are other technical workshops and also mentor office hours that have been planned for you. If you scan this QR code, it will bring you to join us on our shared calendar so that you can keep track with the various events that we have organized. Yeah. So for those of you who have been allocated to the AWS for your cloud provider, we are having the technical workshop tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. GMT plus 8, basically like Singapore time for me. Yeah. And then for GCP, we are having the technical workshop on the 29th of August, which is a Friday, from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. And of course, if you're interested in learning more about NVIDIA, we also have a technical workshop on Monday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And we also have the mentor office hours for you. We have separated the business and technical mentors. So the business mentor office hours is on the 2nd of September, which is a Tuesday, and then the technical mentor office hours on Thursday. And we have the GCP clinic happening on Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. for you to drop in and ask your questions related to GCP. Yeah. So just in case you want to keep track of all these workshops that we have, just scan the QR code and join our shared calendar. Yep. So let me just go back to the previous slide in case you have questions. Okay. I think that's all for today. Thank you so much again, William and Esther. Your sharing was really insightful. Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully it's useful, and then we look forward to interacting with you. And all the best in your competition. Thank you, Shanin.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.